Hi students, welcome to another webinar session of Career 360. Today we're going to explore a subject that a lot of students amongst you have been writing to me, which is about career options in IT after class 12th. And I do understand the reason why such questions are coming in, because I don't think I've ever seen such disruption in education, in studies, in career options, in career paths, in the kind of jobs that will exist or not exist. That kind of uncertainty I've never seen. And besides that, we're also living in very uncertain times. You don't even know whether the examination that's supposed to be held next month would be held or not. Where you don't know whether the classes will start and whether there'll be offline classes or online classes. And because of all these uncertainties, and also the other big challenge that one is facing is increasingly students are getting to know that there are skill-based programs which have a possible better job outcome as compared to a formal qualification which may not guarantee a job, right? So I do understand the space based on which these questions are coming up, and I just thought that if we get one corporate leader who has been dealing with IT, technology, and has been dealing with students which are class 12 students and beyond, and talk to her about the kind of options, pathways, choices that students can exercise, so that they can decide whether they should go for a skill-based program or a formal education, and how do they chart their own pathway with the limitations that the students come up with, which can be financial limitations, which can be time limitations, which can be academic limitations that they themselves might have. So I thought that if you can actually have a corporate leader who answers these questions of yours. So today we have a person who's really mastered this art, because she's been around for the last 20 years, only dealing with students like yourself, advising them, also creating pedagogy and programs for them which will help them chart out this path. And so we have today Miss Srimathi Shivashankar. She's the corporate vice president HCL Technologies. Srimathi comes with an extensive experience of more than 2 decades in business and human capital strategy. She headed and primed global transformation initiatives at HCL. Students, HCL employs tens of thousands of students like yourself, so we thought she's the best person around. Currently, she is responsible for strategizing and operationalizing new HCL delivery centers through the New Vistas program. She was also the key architect of the HCL Foundation and the HCL Grants Initiative. Srimathi holds a bachelor's degree in computer sciences from NIT Tiruchirappalli. She was also recognized for her accomplishments through the Distinguished Alumni Award of NIT. She is also an MBA in International Business Management from Ohio University. Thank you so much for joining us, Srimathi.
Thank you, and this is really pleasure. Amongst all this COVID times, there's nothing like, talking to young students. And Mahesh, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And good evening to everyone who is part of this WebEx today.
And thank you so much for joining us, Srimathi. Srimathi, have you in your life you've been dealing with students for the last 22 years as HCL, because you recruit at times, you train at times. So have you seen this kind of an uncertainty or disruption? And how did you deal with that, if at all you've seen such a disruption?
So I think let us just look at this in 2 angles. One is about how the COVID is bringing certain uncertainty in terms of how things will again go back to normal. What I would call it as pre-COVID and normalcy. The pre-COVID normalcy is going to take a little more time, which is even now unpredictable, because unless we get this vaccination, the social distancing is going to continue, and the students are going to be faced with when will the exams get over, when will the results come, how will I go and take my application online, how will the classes happen. The same questions are also even with the college people who are running the colleges. How are we going to start the colleges? How are the classrooms going to look like? How are my common spaces like the cafeterias going to look like? If a class can hold 30 students, now I can hold only 15 students, which is 50% of capacity. So a lot of questions are happening, but you don't need to get answers for all the questions to start with, right? And that is where the human intelligence play a very important role. But from the overall career perspective, and for somebody like class 12 students who want to pursue higher education, get a job immediately after class 12, all these will continue as normal because, by the time the enrollment start and people start getting back to school, I'm sure all of us would have figured out, Mahesh. So I don't think this is going to be a major impact in somebody's life, except that it's going to have a delayed impact. Something which should have started in July will get moved to October. What should come in October may move to January. That's it.
But yeah, please carry on.
Yeah. Let us just go back to from the job perspective. Years ago, the same thing happened when there were when was this dot burst, when the dot-com burst happened, and everybody said, "Oh, what's going to happen to the world?" Whenever there is a recession in a country, everybody says, "The jobs, there are so many layoffs happening." So, from the job perspective, this is again a cycle. So, this 360 cycle has to happen. The origin can be a COVID or the origin can be a recession. But end of the day, the corporates will work in such a way that we try to bring back the normalcy. So if you go back, I would also want to encourage the students to pick up what they get in digital app beyond just the regular WhatsApp and what's going on Instagram, to see what's happening in places like Wall Street or in our own stock exchanges. Nothing has crashed. So I want the young minds, our 17-year-old, who are going to be the future, to stay very optimistic. When there is crisis, there is opportunity. I think that is something everybody should remember.
Yeah. But Srimathi, it is easy for us sitting here to tell the student that because we come with some kind of wisdom, some kind of experience. But for them, a student who's just passing out now, he suddenly thinks he wanted to go abroad and their study abroad plans have crashed. He wanted to go beyond his small village. Those plans seem to be in a question mark in that sense, right? So how does a student at that young age deal with this kind of a situation where he thinks that he's being singled out for the kind of what's happening?
I would say this is happening to everybody, as you said. And you said it in a young mind at the 17 who has a lot of aspirations. I'm sure the 12th standard students have a lot of aspirations.
Yeah.
Parents are so looking forward to having their children go and start their higher education or take up a job after class 12, like HCL is running a Tech B program. They can join and they can start off their jobs after the 12th standard. Whether it is a job and then higher education or higher education and then a job, whichever cycle they want to take, there are a lot of expectations. As I said, it's only delayed, right? The virtual classrooms are picking up in a big way. That's where IT companies like us are working 24/7 to get those systems up. Like, I do have my friends' children. I mean, as I speak, even my daughter, she was studying abroad and she had to come back in the month of February. And while I'm talking to our students here, she's actually taking an exam in the next room. And because most of them have switched over, the whole pedagogy as well as the content of the program has become more digital now. So the students who are getting prepared for future should go into blended learning. They cannot expect any more of classroom and teacher talking to them, in the classroom and trying to teach everything and making them to understand every concept. It's going to be hybrid learning. A bit of teacher, a bit of virtual learning, bit of self-learning, bit of hands-on as simulations, labs, if you're pursuing for engineering. Most of the exercise you have to. Peer groups. You and me will study together. A lot of people will come together and study. All these are going to be the new norm. So the students accessing the digital part would be very important. So people from rural areas, that would play a very vital role.
I'm glad you brought up that blended learning thing, Srimathi, because yesterday we had the chairman of UGC on the webinar yesterday, and they are about to come up with a policy where 40% of course curriculum can be taught online. Earlier it was 20%. They've expanded it to 40%, and that the regulations are about to come in the next couple of weeks. Which means that even if you go to a classroom, a university or a college in a physical format, you're most likely to have at least 40% of your content taught online, whereas the other 60% can happen either in a classroom or in an internship or a project which can be outside the classroom.
True.
which essentially means that the way I see it, you might be spending only 40% of your time in the classroom, 20% on a project or an internship, and another 40% through the online mode. So, yeah.
So I think what he's talking is also very similar to the skilling program.
Yeah.
So people are going to not read the extra stuff. They're just going to get tuned only to take up the job, right? So if I'm going to prepare for a career for an IT company, or a company which is to do with a healthcare setup, I'm just giving you an example, or a chartered accountant yourself. So you may not take up all the extra subjects, but you're just going to take relevant subject for the job. So maybe Mahesh, we also taught through some years ago when I introduced the technique question.
That's right.
There are a lot of people asking, are you saying IT jobs can be done by 12th standard students? And I keep laughing and I say, yes, they can. Because we are only giving them the foundation and the right kind of inputs to take up my entry-level job, be a software engineer, or whether they're going to be an analyst, right, or a design thing, whether they're going to move into mechanical design. So it's all about only giving the right skill set. Over that, I'm topping up with an education. So education helps you to look at how your career pathway has to be. So it is only going to kind of, should I say, support, right? So there are many concepts which I will learn new, but I'm already doing on the job. So you relate to what is being done on the job to the concept you learn. In a regular education, what you do, you learn concept. And you're looking for projects where you will apply the concept.
That's right.
And then you use all this document together and sit on the interview table and say, I need a job. Now it's a reverse. So like the UGC chairman has rightfully said, even the 40% what he's going to give are the ones which will really help him to apply on the job immediately. So we are all going through the transformation right now.
So it's interesting you brought up the skilling part of it, Srimathi.
Right.
What would be your advice to a student? You actually are staring at two options. One is you go through the formal education process of after class 12, you do your graduation, which can be a B.Tech, B.E., B.Com, B.Sc, B.A., whatever it is. And then on the other hand, suddenly a huge set of programs have opened up which are on skilling side of it, where you don't earn a degree, but you earn a skill. And it normally leads to an outcome which is a job.
Right.
Between these two, how does a student decide which pathway he must take?
Can I draw a little analogy from outside the country, right?
Yeah.
Let us take an example of a Singapore or Germany or US. We all know higher education and continuing higher education anywhere outside this country is very expensive. Parents don't fund their children beyond 18 years of age. So as a result of which, many of them pick up a skilling and they start their jobs first, 2 or 3 years, and then they will take and save enough money to take up part-time job and still continue higher education, right? There is a need. So they have moved on to that kind of a way for a very long time. See, when I went and studied my higher education in the US, I was the youngest in my class. I felt very embarrassed when I did my MBA. Then I came to know how so many people actually take break years to earn for their higher education and then get back to higher education. But in India, it's very typical of our mindset. After 12th, again one education. Then there is a master's. Then you look for a job, right? So that's become like what would I call as an ingrained philosophy in our head, right? At this point in time, I want to just tell the students, what do you want? Do you want to go into a traditional way of doing your education, which is very good because they will get prepared for something which is very, very specific if they know what they want to do after higher education. But there are many people who may say, hey, you know what, I want to take up a job. That too, I'm very interested in IT field. I want to be a coder. I want to, look at the IT, which is like, I want to look at infrastructure management analyst. I love cloud computing. I'm hearing so much about AI. I want to be a game designer. So, many of them may have certain aspirations. 12-year-olds are the nearest to digital, right? Unlike you and I. They know more about what to do on the digital medium, right? So, if they aspire that they want to take up job first, we still have an opportunity, and HCL is the first one to do. then still continue their higher education with BITS Pilani, which is again design and computing, or with Shastra, which is a bachelorate in computer applications. So they don't need to compromise, right? So first is, like I said, either ways, but it depends on what the person's aspirations are and what they believe they want to do in life. And this Gen Millennial is very cool. It's a cool time.
So I'm very excited by the fact that someone can study at BITS Pilani or Shastra, because those two are institutions that I respect a lot, right? So can you please explain how this whole thing works? That they work with HCL, they get a stipend, then they get a job, and then they also earn a degree from these places. Can you explain that entire process?
So here is my 12th standard student who gets selected through my SAT exam. And that is a very simple interview. Interviews more about how they can communicate, just their attitude, very simple. And they also get to know the HCL person on the other end. They join us, and if they are going into a typical coding, right, we teach them to code, say Java. We'll take a simple, everybody knows Java, so I'm giving an example. It will be a 9 months of training, hands-on. Now with all this classroom gone, I'll be teaching people like this with a whole lot of hands-on, lot of simulations, lab practices. They have coding, they will be coding, and whatever bugs are there on a daily basis, somebody will actually help them to fix. So it's a real life learning for the first 9 months. And after 9 months, they go into a professional practice, which means they get assigned to a project. We have global customers. Say, let me take an example of any banking sector. This person may go into that particular project and be part of the project, and they will be assigned to a manager. They learn in a real life environment. They become a full-time employee. The minute after the 12 months they become a full-time employee, we will counsel them depending on the career pathway. If the career paths are more towards design computing, or the career path is more towards infrastructure, which is a true IT or networks, or if they're taken up mechanical and they have to take up a higher program on mechanical, we will counsel them. They enroll into the program. As part of our overall compensation structure, we also fund them for higher education. Say, for example, if they go to Shastra, 100% of their Shastra education is funded by us. Possibly for, I think for BITS, they have to pay about 40% because it's a 4-year program instead of a 3-year program. But either ways, it's like, it's a very proud moment for an individual that they're earning for their higher education.
And they get a formal qualification from BITS or Shastra?
Yes, and Shastra. So I think the pre-COVID time, something very important came. I don't know how many of the students know, and I'm sure the UGC chairman would have said, the distance education has become regular degree in this country.
That's right, online degree. I was coming to that next, actually. So
a big shift in the mindset, amazing, because this is what probably the European countries have. US, I have this program running in some of the countries outside India. And there you will know that, people can go and study on Saturdays, which is what's happening with us too, in the Shastra and BITS. Saturdays, the studies happen in our own HCL campuses. We have satellite centers. We have professors coming and teaching, right? So it's the same concept everywhere. So now, because of this is a landmark, a decision in the country.
So in fact, I will add to what Srimathi has just said to the students. You can actually do any skill-based program which has a better job outcome if you want that to be a need. And we don't need to be judgmental about anything. Each of us have different needs. Some of you might want to get into a skill-based program so that you can get an immediate job within a couple of years. Please go through that, because with the online degree programs that UGC has introduced, you can do a skill-based program while pursuing an online degree program parallelly. You will get a job while you'll also have the formal qualification in the next 3-4 years, depending on the course that you take.
In fact, UGC program also, we are planning to talk to them, because last year they were just waiting for their formal approvals to make it as a regular degree. If the chairman, and this is true, I mean, nothing like that, there are more colleges in the UGC approved will start coming into this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It also means it offers more programs for the 12 students who are joining the Tech B program to pursue that as a higher education as well.
There is a question that's coming from. One moment. This is from Prachi Naresh, Srimathi.
Sure.
Her question is, what is the future like for people who study cybersecurity?
Yeah.
Would getting a degree in computer science be better than a cybersecurity degree? So she's talking about specialization versus non-specialization in that sense.
So first of all, cybersecurity will have a good and real future with more of digital and distributed networks that you see today, right? And that is going to be the new norm also in the coming years. So which means there are more reasons as to why we do need people who are specialists in cybersecurity, right? But my suggestion is if the person goes for a typical engineering institute to do, in most of the engineering schools, cybersecurity is only an ancillary. It is only an add-on which you can take in the third or the fourth year. It is always good to take an additional courses which many private institutions offers on cybersecurity, especially the international certifications. And along with it, a little bit of understanding the legal aspects. I mean, bingo, you'll be the best cybersecurity. But let me tell you too, everybody loves that word. It seems to be the word. But what's most important is unless you're experienced, you do at least this job for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, you will never understand the real life problems that you have to solve through cybersecurity. Patience is such an important character that somebody should have if you get into cybersecurity.
I'll just add to what Srimathi said. For any young student, don't narrow your options at class 12th. Keep your options slightly broader so that you can do a specialization, you can do a major of cybersecurity, you can add, but don't take B.Tech cybersecurity or something like that right away in class 12 because you may not like it, in which case you can't turn back. So just be careful about that. There is another question that's coming from Jyoti Kumari. She says, I've completed my 12th class last year with science stream, but I don't know how to choose my career path.
Science stream, is it science with math or?
She doesn't say that here. She says science stream. So science, it will be with science with math because it's PCM, right? So that's what it means.
I mean, you can do anything after the science with the science stream. Science and math.
Anything, yeah.
I mean, you can move on to being a chemist. You can move on to becoming a botanist. You can decide you want to be a zookeeper. I mean, that is like plethora of jobs. So I think it depends what she likes more than me giving like a blanket, saying that these are all the careers. Well, I mean, she should try Tech B. If she doesn't know, she should try because she may enjoy doing a job and then do her higher education. Because while you're doing the job, one thing you learn, I'm sure you also agree with me, is you will know what you want as higher education.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you'll say, hey, I know I'm going to be at, because many of us at some point in time after 6 or 7 years of experience, you will either become a techie or you will start managing people who are techies.
Mm-hmm.
Either ways, you become a program or a project manager, or you become a real tech architect or whatever, right? Which will be a pure techie. So your education and what you want as a higher education, everything can come out of the experience. So if she's willing to really, take that on, she should try.
This is a question from Kriti Vikram Srivastava. His question is, I want to become a web developer. Right. What will I need to learn in chronological order so that I can successfully create dynamic websites? So he's looking at us creating a pathway for him so that he become a web designer.
No, I think first of all, he should know that to become a web developer, right? He has to go through his basic understanding of various technologies that are there. So if he's deciding to go into the Microsoft, if you anything on the front end, you are going to go into what is called as your HTML pages, right? That may be the first step to going into the HTML. But it's not only about designing the web web page, right? It's not about how visual. You need to also have some design thinking to look at how the layout should look like, right? You create a page, it has to be hosted, and there is certain amount of coding that has to come into the backend.
That's right.
A bit of Java, the middleware has to be known, Java or .NET, whichever, right? So the framework has to be understood, and you need to apply the framework. But at the end of the day, what do you do with a website? There are so many people coming on to website, so much of data coming in that needs to be, sitting on some database. So you will need to understand some basic database like an Oracle or whatever, whichever database that goes well with this. So if you go into a typical learning center and say, I want to take a 6-month program on web design and development. So the fundamental is you need to a bit know of what will be your front end, your middleware, and your back end. You need to learn that. But above all, I'll tell you one quality that I look forward with these youngsters because they're starting their job now. Most of them study this web development because they believe they'll go and do some web. But they do without design appreciation. Because design thinking and design appreciation are never an integral part of school education. So suppose, I have my, everybody loves Apple. Why do we love Apple? Because of the design thinking going into it. Somebody gives me this Mac phone this particular phone and say, your iPhone has to look thinner, sharper, cleaner. And on my website, it has to be really, a good looking website, if I can say, right? We all know what good looking is. I'm giving a simple term. Do you understand what good looking is? Right? I want a bright website. Hey, you know what? Teens are going to come to my website. I want teenagers to swarm my website. So the design thinking comes in when you're able to appreciate who's going to come into your website. So I'm saying all these youngsters because they go into so many apps. Some apps are attractive, some games are attractive, some apps are easy to use, some games are tough to go in. So they have the experience. They must use this experience to build coding. They need to use this to do their web. So don't go into a traditional training in IT saying that, I want to get a job. You need to appreciate the experiences as a teenager you already have because you're the closest to digital technology today.
This is a question.
I hope I'm clear about it, right?
Yeah, you got some kind of, that's right. There's a question from Mansi Bharadwaj, and I think she's talking about HCL Tech Bs. Because the question is, ma'am, after this HCL training, can we do B.Tech in any college and then get a job in any other company also?
There is no, B.Tech cannot be offered as part of, it's part of distance learning.
That's right.
So as part of the Tech B, we have a very clear career path within HCL. Right? So they start off as a software engineer if they decide to. Then they become a senior software engineer. Then they become a tech lead. That's how their career path. And the training in BITS, the higher education in BITS and Shastra are aligned with this career path. If they want to switch over after their higher education and working with HCL, of course. Today, in any job, people don't say what is your education. After you get certain numbers of years of experience in a company, right? I'm sure nobody asks you and me, what is our education qualification?
They will fail.
Only in the first job, they ask what is your education qualification. In Tech B, they already have the first job after 12th.
Yeah.
So when they move out, only your experience is asked for.
Which is right. The qualification, you told me that it's not possible to do B.Tech. So what is the qualification they get in which case?
So they get a B.S. Bachelor of Science, which is a
3-year program.
Which is a 4-year program in BITS Pilani.
Okay.
And to the engineering. It's called Design and Computing.
Okay.
And in Shastra, it's a 3-year BCA.
3-year.
But they can also do an MCA after that.
So while they're studying, after that they study for 3 years, or is it parallelly that the 3 years happen?
Parallelly it happens.
Oh, brilliant.
Only on Saturdays.
Okay, brilliant.
And it's a work integrated higher education. So if you look at many of the content of the program, it will reflect what the person is doing as a job. So they have to do only a delta study from the concept perspective to even go and take the exams.
Okay. So for the students' benefit, I'm trying to explain what you said just now, and correct me if I'm wrong. what you're saying is that when they work with HCL through the TechBees program, they're working with with HCL. They're earning a stipend and a salary as they move along. Parallelly, they're studying also at either BITS, Pilani or Shastra, and they study on Saturdays and Sundays to earn their qualification.
Absolutely. Mostly Saturdays only, when Sundays don't have
Okay.
it. Mostly Saturdays. Absolutely.
It's a brilliant program, I must tell you that.
And in fact, the TechBee program, if you see,
Yeah.
the foundation training that we give is equivalent to what you will study in the BCA first year or in the regular B.Sc or BE curriculum of computer science or IT in few semesters. Because that is anyway important for programming. You can't become take up an entry level job unless you know that. Right?
No, it's a brilliant program. If that's what it is, I think moving forward, India should move in that direction, because the cost of education of 20 lakh rupees and all might be a challenge for many people, knowing the country that we live in. So from my perspective, all votes for this kind of a program where you spend little, you earn while you're spending, and then also learn along with that. You pass out with a formal qualification while not spending too much money and actually earning a little bit of money.
Absolutely. And feel proud about it.
No, I'm very happy that I'm talking to you as we speak, right? So the other thing is, Srimathi, a lot of students have a confusion between what is computers and what is IT, because it is used in different ways at different times at different places. Yeah. Can you explain to the children, the students out there, what is IT and what is computer sciences between the two of them, and what is the difference between the two of them?
Okay. So in a very simple language, computer science is nothing but where you apply your logical and mathematic thinking to do programming, right? So largely what you learn around the programming today, they say coding, the software part of it largely comes in computer science, right? So say in a phone like this, we talk about the apps development and the various other things that are happening like the website development and all that is part of computer science. IT is largely about the hardware part, the networks part, the cloud part, the infrastructure part. That is what the IT. So the IT is so the two networks are talking to each other. So the Internet of Things. Everybody loves that term now, Internet.
That's right.
Right? I'm taking a simple example of Internet of Things. So you have multiple gadgets. So I have my laptop and I have my phone. Laptop and iPhone should talk to each other, right? So what will go into the ingredients of this laptop and into this and making them talk to each other through the cloud, will come through the IT infrastructure management. But making both of them talk from whether they're compatible, right? Whether they can talk to each other and what kind of programming has to be done for the platform on which they need to talk to each other will all come through the computer science. But when you go into the engineering school or any school, there is a very, very small, thin line between IT and computer science today from the course curriculum. So I don't want the students to get so much paranoid about whether they're moving into IT or whether they move into computer science. At the end of the day, when they come for a job, we will train them to do what they want to, right? In the jobs. So they don't need to worry about, okay, am I taking BE IT or am I taking BE computer science? Will I get a job? You will get a job in it. For example, take a networking company like Cisco. Cisco is HCL's one of the largest customers. Cisco may actually look for people who have an IT background, because if it's more to do with networking, if there's specialization around networking, right? While a Microsoft will look at largely people who are into the app world, they may take computer science. HCL takes both. Very simple. Why? We are doing software development. We take computer science. We also have infrastructure management services. So all that cloud computing, data, the data centers that we are talking about, all that is part of the IT, the infrastructure management services.
This is a question.
I thought I'll give a simple example. So
that's the best answer that you gave, because IT is largely infrastructure and hardware, and computer sciences is all about the software side of it. So that's
Logical, yeah,
yeah,
all those,
absolutely.
yeah.
Abhiram, this is a question from Abhiram R. His question is how to build a career in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Can you tell me the path to go on? I've completed 12th with PCMB.
Okay, everybody loves AI and ML,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. I must say, I would really encourage a traditional engineering curriculum for an AI and ML. Though many people may promote private institutions and stuff like that, my views go for a traditional engineering because you need to understand fundamentals of engineering and how mechanics works before you move into AI and ML, right? Great future because you can apply this on anything, right? Whether it is on product development, application development, be a data scientist tomorrow, right? And along with this, you must know if you have to be good in AI and ML, I always recommend that only who are good in maths should take it. Somehow, because a whole lot of mathematics concepts will be used for getting into the AI and ML field. So he should be happy to learn more math fundamentals if he takes it up.
This is
A good example is I want the students. I'm sure all of them watched SpaceX,
yeah,
the launch, right? When Dragon went,
yeah, yeah.
AI and ML has gone into it,
That's right.
and obviously a lot of mathematics and various theorems have gone behind it. If they have appreciation for maths, they should get it.
Yeah. The other thing is, Srimathi, because we're dealing with IT after class 12th,
Right.
there are about 6 8 fields that have opened up. You're talking about virtual reality, gaming, robotics, then you have IoT, then machine learning, and then you also have AI. How does a student go about? Does he choose in class 12th itself that I want to be in one of these 6, or he can choose that option as he moves along after year 1, year 2, depending on what he starts liking as he starts studying? How does he go about choosing one of these 6?
So if a person goes into a typical engineering school, right? So he will only have to get into an IT, computer science, or ECE, right? Electronics and communication, which we call as circuit branches largely, for them to get into any of these pathways, right? Suppose he wants to become he doesn't want to do any programming, but wants to actually see how to put these robots at work and design a robo. A good choice would be an ECE, right? Rather than coming into a computer science, which is more on the software part of it. Right? It's important for him to first go into a good BE school, a school that offers BE program. And in the third year, anyway, all the extra courses start coming in. And most importantly, I think what our students compromise today are summer jobs. I encourage a lot of projects and summer jobs because when you are able to take up some good live projects, I'll tell you, every person in this country, you go to any shopkeeper, he would want some IT work to be done in his shop. It's just that we don't go and ask, and we are only asking big companies, right? I think I really encourage students to take up a lot of projects, and especially in the field they like, because they'll do an add-on learning in the class, and there are so many web-based courses, free courses,
Yeah.
also is available from big universities like MIT. So they should take up those courses, but apply them as part of the project work.
No.
But if you really want to be a stalwart, then you have to go for an MTech after that.
Absolutely.
Because that will be specialization.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is again a question from Melvin Elias Matthew. His question is there any program related with robotics?
Pretty much. So you will find that, again, as I said, it's either a part of your engineering curriculum. Easily in third year, you can move off to robotics as part of the extra coursework that you do. But you decide whether you want to be on which side of robotics. Are you going to make a robo arm, which means you need design thinking and a complete understanding of circuits and the theories related to that, which is the ECE branch? Or are you going to program, which is more to do with the AI, right? on the other side. So either way he can choose as part of his BE degree. But as I said, he needs a circuit branch.
Srimathi, the big confusion or rather complication that students face these days is it true that in the IT spaces, IT companies that you work with, it is a skill that is more respected than the qualification, or is it that what is the trade-off between the skill and the qualification and so on and so forth?
For any job, you have to do skill matters. If I go, say, let me just say, I'll give you a simple example for the students, okay? We all have, the most difficult job in the kitchen is to cut onions, right? You can go into the website and learn how to cut onions, what angle you should put the knife, which knife you have to use, right? How to stop tears from your eyes. All that steps will be given it's part of your learning, right? It's part of your education system. But then if you have to be a good onion cutter, you need to practice, right? So skilling is more coming from how quickly you can practice to do the job. So when you come into any IT, when you come raw from a engineering school or any other graduation program, you need to unlearn a lot of stuff. There are so much it's gone into your head which may not come handy at all to cut onions, which will come first, right? You don't know. So you'll have to unlearn to start again, right? But what happens when you get skilled to do the job first? Somebody will come and teach you. This is how you should place the onion. This is how so it becomes a hands-on learning. So skilling is more hands-on. Then you learn the concept. First you learn to cut the onion. That's the only difference. There you learn the concept and to cut the onion. Here you cut the onion and say, oh, now I know why I have to wash the onion so that I don't get tears in my eyes.
So there are a lot of questions that seem to be coming on the tech piece program of yours, Srimathi. So I'll ask you a couple of questions on that because quite a few are coming in. Your primary examination from where you take students for tech piece is SAT. Am I right?
This is HCL SAT. It's our own.
SAT. Oh, it's a separate examination, right? So HCL SAT has a separate examination.
It's a separate exam.
Okay.
But to our exam, it has more on quantitative math.
Okay.
That is a bit of analytical, logical thinking, and English.
Okay.
So this is what we test people on.
Okay.
And if they are prepared for any entrance exam across the state, there are all entrance exam of all kinds.
Yeah.
They'll be able to sit through the SAT as well. And we have SAT examples also on the site.
And this is typically the NCERT kind of syllabus?
Anybody can apply. Yeah. State boards across. The way we have structured the SAT exam is not to test anybody's ignorance.
Okay.
So the board doesn't matter, but it is more to do with what they may use for the job when they join HCL.
Okay. And after they take the examination, you call a certain set of people for an interview.
The ones who have passed, and we do the stack ranking.
Okay.
We do what will be the average marks, and from there, whoever passes, we will be calling them for an interview. Okay. We give equal opportunity for everybody to appear for the interview.
Okay.
Some people may not know how to crack the test, but they'll be very smart when they come to understanding digital.
Okay.
So we want to give them an opportunity, so everybody will come for an interview.
Okay. And after once they qualify and then you take them in, the first year is internship.
No.
Yeah. So explain that.
Full-time job.
Okay, full-time job. So elaborate on that. Once you get selected, can you elaborate on that all over again, please, if you don't mind?
Okay. So they come in, they get selected.
Yeah.
They join my training.
Yeah.
It's a 1-year skilling program.
Okay.
In the 1 year, we have 9 months of a typical classroom.
Okay.
Typical classroom with a lot of, like I told you, onion as an example, right? So we make them do stuff and then they learn the concept.
Okay.
So a lot which goes into the BCA program and other program, they will all learn by doing.
But there will be formal teaching and doing. Both are happening parallelly.
Yeah, exactly. There will be 60% of doing and 40% of teaching.
Oh, brilliant.
So for example, if you and I are talking and suddenly something happens to the Zoom.
Yeah.
Somebody in IT team must be helping us to fix, na?
Right,
So
that's
we
right.
tell them how to fix it. Then
Okay.
we tell them this is the concept behind fixing.
Okay. Okay.
Because we
Brilliant.
are preparing them for the job.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So they prepare themselves for the job for 9 months. Then afterwards, they start as a 3-month intern in one project. This is real life project,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
In all these 12 months, they're getting stipend with us,
Okay.
10,000 rupees.
Okay.
That is for the first 12 months. After that, they immediately become full-time employee. They are a software engineer with HCL.
Okay. Okay. And this goes on for about 3 years all put together.
Only 1 year of training.
Okay. And
They
then you
become
get on the job.
software engineer.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
depending on their higher education, they will continue higher. That's nothing to do with their careers.
So, because a lot of students are asking SAT examinations, I just want to clarify, it is not the SAT that you know, which is the international SAT.
This is
HCL SAT has a different examination, and a lot of people also ask whether JEE is a qualification. No, JEE is not a qualification. For this particular thing, you need to go through HCL SAT, which is a specified examination that is conducted only by HCL.
Right.
And what is the schedule? When is the normal time? When should they apply and all? Can you elaborate on that?
I would encourage them to go to the website.
Absolutely. Yeah, fair. Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because we also have live counselors
Yeah. Okay.
and a
Brilliant.
call center. I strongly encourage them to go so they get the complete understanding of what this program is.
Yeah.
You can talk to a counselor. We also have examples of what will go into the SAT exam.
Okay. In fact, now that you told me this, I'm excited about it, Srimathi. So I'll ensure that on Career 360 we'll create a small syllabus that only goes for HCL SAT examination, put it, because we want students to start looking at alternate career paths and not the beaten career paths. That's our objective. And one of the things that we always, every year we do it passionately, I must tell you, is that we do a large coverage of courses where the investment is almost next to zero, but the outcomes are very high.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. So, and that for me is very dear to me, very close to me, and I would want to do that from that perspective. Yeah.
Mahesh, let me also volunteer, Mahesh. I'll be happy to also give a counselor. If there are enough people who are registered and they want an orientation on SAT program, we'll be happy to give as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll do that because
I can have them taught for an hour or so on how to prepare for the exam.
Absolutely. I'll get that done. Right.
Yeah.
The other thing, Srimathi, is that increasingly data analytics is becoming a bigger and bigger career choice.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate for class 12 students what data analytics means? What is the kind of aptitude you need and those kind of things so that they can choose that as an option?
Yeah. I will take COVID as an example. I know we are all going through that, right? So today, if you go into a site called Worldometer, I don't know how many of you have seen the Worldometer.
Yeah, that's right.
But as a site, so it talks about this many cases are in India, this many cases are in India itself, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, NCR. So you have COVID cases. In the COVID cases, you also have a lot of data on what is the age group, right? And was the other condition that these people had when they got affected and so on. All these are so much data, right? So first thing that comes into my mind is, what do I do with this data? Why this data, right? So somebody has to start putting a logic around on this why, what, right? All right. Then this keeps on continuing, not just COVID, but something other keeps hitting us. So we start collecting the data, right? At some point in time, winter, everybody will get, a lot of pollen infection. You will find a lot of people sneezing. So it becomes predictable at some point of time, right? So what you do with data, how you analyze data, and in the back end, how do you already structure a solution for certain issues that will come up? It is all part of data analytics. So data analytics is not new. Today in IT, we are programming. We are using the programming languages. Say, for example, Python is most favorite, right? We apply many of this and we have various tools. which will help with doing all this analysis on its own. So person who comes in as a data analytics will be able to understand how to put this data together, use the right language, use the right environment, and use the right tools that are already available. So that you, because if you, Mahesh, if you really want to look at your 360 and say, what kind of people do I have? How many students are enrolled into so and so WebEx? Where are they today? Everything is being done in the back end with some machine language, some kind of programming, which will give you instant results, right? So this is all part of the data analytics. That is how it is intervened with IT. Otherwise, data analytics has always been part of mathematical and statistical.
Yeah, exactly.
And you are a chartered accountant yourself, so I don't need to talk about data analytics to you.
So in fact, in our company, every year we recruit at least 4 data analysts to add to the pool, because we only deal with data. Then tech comes in. First, the data has to be sanitized and collated and sanitized the right way, removing the chaff from what is to be presented to the child. So we do that every single year. Like
I have one warning for the students, right? For all of us. In India, traditionally, we ask the first question, what?
Yeah.
Some data saying, okay, what should I do? And we start doing it. The minute you switch over your hat to why, then you are a good data analyst to start with, which we don't do. So when data is present, we'll say, okay, what do I do with the data? And we start putting the information. Right?
In fact, I'll just add anecdotally what you're saying. A lot of people say that IIT Delhi has 17 lakh salary package and so many students were placed. What they don't say is that in a branch like civil engineering or textile engineering, how many were placed and what is the average salary?
Right.
Right. Because what they do is they group everything together and lump them together.
Right.
When you analyze data closely, you realize suddenly that it's far better that you do civil engineering in some other institution than this. And it's far better that you do textile engineering where 100% placement happens in some other institution, where here only 40% students are placed. So data analytics, in a certain sense, plays a large play in terms of slicing, dicing, and presenting data which makes sense and which has a meaning and purpose to it.
Absolutely. You have said it beautifully.
Yeah. Thanks so much. This is
there is no difference between data analyst, data scientist.
Exactly.
It's all a variation of Pepsi and Coke. That's all.
Fantastic. Srimathi, a lot of commerce students, once they get into commerce, start looking at IT as an option.
Right.
Is there some pathway that one can have, which are for non-computer science students or non-PCM students, to take up IT as an option?
I'm just giving you you and I know, but the students should know. Programming is common sense. It doesn't come only from a science or math or even humanities. We have enough common sense, right? Person from commerce background, accounting background, they can all pick up IT. It's a language. It is a programming language where you have to look at your analytical and logical thinking. So if commerce students want to switch over to IT, if they have done in 12th standard commerce, actually we take commerce students. We do take humanities students in for Tech B program. They just need the business maths, because anyway business maths is part of most of the commerce curriculum. So we are not restricting our Tech B program only to science streams. We are taking commerce streams.
It's very interesting you said that. Are you saying that in which case your SAT examination is not unduly favoring the math and science students?
Not at all. So if you look at even the quantitative, most of them are application.
Okay.
And it's not that, we are testing the recency, not what they have studied recently. It's not about, that, I learned a theory in 12th and I'm trying to apply types, right? So most of them are application-based questions, which could have started even from grade 8.
Okay. That's very interesting. This is a question from Aniruddha Sharma. His question is, which is good for software developers, learning more latest technologies or sticking to one and be an expert in the same?
So, basically we should just start with one language only, right? So if I say I join with a Java, I'm giving you a simple example called Java. When you join Java, you will learn to start with a full stack Java, right? So I'm just giving you the variation. Then there are so many other adjacent technologies of Java that you will learn, because even Java will start releasing adjacent technologies throughout, right? So you will have some new programming language or adjacent technology which will always come in. You will pick it up. But what is most important is, does your job need that? You may learn 100 technologies, but it all depends on after you join the work. The company will tell you what are all the technologies that you need to learn to sustain. But I can definitely tell you, if HCL is saying that these are the technologies for you to learn, 100% that is what the market needs. In a particular job, you can become a specialist. But if you want to learn multiple technologies and not knowing where to apply that, you can never be a specialist.
Sure.
Right? So go with what the company tells you is what I can recommend.
This is a question from Prashant Kumar. He wants to be a professional hacker.
Sure. Ethical hacker, I hope.
Ethical hacker. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Sure. There are many excellent institutions worldwide. Teaches them to do professional hacking. And ethical hackers are there in most of the companies, as we know, because only then we will know whether our systems, IT systems that we talked about, are intact or not. Please ask him to take up a professional course.
Okay.
We don't have hacking as part of engineering stream.
It's a skilling program in a sense. Am I right in saying that?
It's a certification skilling.
It's a certification program. So anyone who wants to be a professional hacker, there is no hacking program in a formal education, because I think they are scared of having hacking as a formal qualification. It's a skilling program.
Yeah, there are special courses around ethical hacking. Worldwide, right? Even in the engineering curriculum, it's one of the subjects, but not only subject.
Now, the thing is, Srimathi, a lot of people here again are talking of game designing. They're talking of and HCL. The questions keep repeating on the HCL part of it, right? Like one question is coming from Mohammad Nazim. He says, "Is what all should I have in my resume for a software developer profile of HCL?" And I'll add a few more questions to it. You actually have a Tech B program where students are learning while earning while learning, and also getting a formal qualification. If they were to get a formal qualification, would they get a promotion? Would they get a salary hike? So can you talk of slightly, we talked about the first 2 years of Tech B program, or first 3 years. Can you take it to 5 years so that they actually have a comfort of what it means?
So the minute somebody becomes a software engineer in HCL, whether you come after an engineering graduation or whether you come through a Tech B program, it's one and the same. Because both of you are doing the same job for me, right? Are you doing the job well? Are you a good performer? Are you innovating something while you're giving any fresh ideas? Are you a good team worker? Do you have good communication skills? All these would make a person to grow in their career. So the career growth for a Tech B and an engineering graduate in HCL for the first 5 years is the same. It's nothing different. And end of the day, it's left to an individual and based on his or her performance. So if a graduate comes to me with a resume, what do I look for was the other question. So we know he or she is a good graduate. Marks matter. Marks is the first criteria, after they do their BE, to get into from the campus to participate in any of our shortlisting processes. So every company has its own cutoff marks. So the students who are pursuing engineering should get good marks in engineering school to stay ahead of others, because that's just the basic passport to appear for the interview. During the interview, they will be asked to code. There will be a lot of questions. That will make a big difference. And if they've done summer projects, it will be fantastic, because they will sail beautifully in the shortlisting process. because they have prior experience.
So just to repeat, Ashi, I think this is a question coming from you, Ashi. Once you finish graduation, you actually fall in line along with every other B.Tech, and to that extent, you will earn a promotion, a designation, and everything that is done for a B.Tech as you move along. So what you essentially saved is the cost of education of earning a B.Tech for 20 lakh rupees or whatever it is. You were earning while you were learning this whole thing. And then you are in line along with every other B.Tech that has come into HCL and earning at least the same, if not more, depending on your abilities and capabilities. Am I right in saying that, Srimathi?
Beautifully you summarized it. Absolutely. End of the day in the job, your performance matter, right? So the techie career growth in his her or own hands, and we don't differentiate once they graduate between them and the rest of the engineers.
Last question. It is not for class 12, but this is a question a lot of people think in terms of career planning, right? Does a student who's done any program on technology these days, they do an MBA? That's one pathway that they take. The other pathway is doing an MTech or MSc because they want to be more clearer in their pathways, right? What is your advice? Because a class 12 student also wants to look at 5 years hence and not just immediate, right? So from that perspective, what is a pathway that is better off for what kind of person?
Very simple. If you want to stay as a techie and go more into research areas, then pursuing your MTech is very important, right? If you decide to go for masters, because the content of MTech is specialization. So somebody talked about robotics. You're talking about AI, right? And you want to be a scientist. You want to pursue your PhD. So for all that, your masters, which is your MS or MTech in science, would really matter. But if you believe that you're going to manage people, you want to actually get into the business of managing the business, right? Then MBA would really come handy. MBA will provide you an insight as to whether it is marketing or finance or human resources. It's very important on how you can manage people who are managing this. So MBA comes very handy. So I think it's a choice of an individual whether he would want to continue, he or she want to continue as a techie, or he or she wants to move to understanding business environment more and want to manage people who are doing the techie job. You want to manage a lot of techies under you, and you want to become a manager, senior manager, group manager, general manager, MBA comes very handy. You want to become a technical architect, senior technical architect, scientist, senior scientist. All these are in IT jobs. For that matter, in most of the companies it's there. But any typical IT company, you'll find both the streams available.
Last question, Srimathi. It's a very broad question, but very important question from the student. A student who's getting in after class 12 now, he's looking at a career immediately or after 4 years, right? Yeah. And if you were to look through for the next 10 years, what kind of IT job profiles would be in demand that students must be working for today or studying for today?
All jobs will be in place. Okay. All technologies. Even those technologies, what we call as legacy technologies, which were in the earlier, the mainframe and all that, will continue. Right? Okay. All the newer technologies you see are only getting added on to what is already existing today, right? And this concept of digital and IoT and the distributed networks that we see, especially more and more of virtualization, is going through various complexities which are also going to give immense opportunity for IT workers. Let me tell you, this is only field where we are working 24/7. Yeah. The COVID, all of us are working from home. Nothing has stopped, right? Also, because we are also building more IT platforms and we are also enabling more people. Like you were talking about UGC saying that, everything is going to be digital learning. Who's going to do everything for them? I mean, it's as simple as that, right? So the next 10 years, or even the next 15 years, there's always a say, oh, recession has come, America, there is a recession, will the IT job goes away? I mean, they forget when there is a recession, when there is an economic downturn, everybody will be looking out for how can digital come in to kind of do their business continuity, right? So in simple terms, IT is there to stay. Digital is here to stay.
What is your personal take, Srimathi, on BCA versus BTech CSC?
BCA versus BTech CSC.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So BTech CSC is what you prefer. So Aman Gaikwad, that's your answer.
Because engineering fundamentals are there in a BTech CSC.
Okay.
But if you take a Tech B first year and become an engineer, software engineer with us, and then do a BCA, it is equivalent to a BTech CSC.
Okay. So Aman, I think I've asked your question, pushed through the whole thing. She would prefer a BTech CSC as compared to a BCA. That's your call.
If they go traditional way. The other way is you take Tech B first, which is part of the HCL program, take up a job and do BCA. That is equivalent to a BTech CSC.
Yeah. But with the space opening up so much, Srimathi, are there 3, 4, 5 things that you would prefer are like we talk of gaming or robotics and all? Are there 3, 4 things which are very hot that would be needed and that students must pursue? Within this whole 10, 15, 20 things that are coming up, there might be a pecking order within that, isn't it?
The traditional technologies will continue.
Correct.
At any point in time, right? But the top up, which is largely the new ones, which are like cybersecurity,
AI, ML and all,
the cloud computing, the way that we are building our data centers. So many of these would be some of the next 4 or 5 years because of the situation in which we are in today.
In fact, so one person asked the question that networking and cloud computing are the in things post-COVID. Is that right?
It has always been in thing. It is nothing called. It's except that now there would be a higher demand for usage. For example, let us just, if somebody goes back to Zoom that you and I are talking. Look at the net worth and how Zoom has transformed itself in the last 6 months.
Absolutely.
Right. So obviously, I think the situation will warrant for certain technologies to come back.
Yeah. Right. In fact, I was speaking to someone in MHRD today morning, Srimathi. 23 crore students are right now studying online in India.
Awesome. Amazing.
And all because of, we were pushed to adapt to that, which we were always resisting as a country, by the way. Somewhere we were resisting, saying that offline is the most important thing. But when we were pushed to the wall, look at how we morphed.
So to add to that, this is my last statement. Imagine if more than half a billion of us have to work from home. That's the time people will understand the value of IT.
Exactly.
Every youngster who wants to start their career early now and still continuing their higher education through the virtual way, I would encourage them to sign up for Tech B because they get the best of both worlds. They're working from, they're working with HCL. They're also doing higher education, and everything is being done, to start with, even a blended learning, and virtually too. So this is a great opportunity as well.
Your closing comments to students out there, class 12 students looking at IT as a career option. What are your closing comments?
I think wherever we go, we need to feel that we are the best, right? But it comes with the first step of you working hard. And among a million children, million class 12 students, we have to pick up few from the top. So it's very important that you need to try and you need to give your best for your first job. Whether it's the first job or your higher education, whatever you do, you give 100%. I think that giving 100% is something that we all need, especially with this, when we go through ups and downs with this pandemic situations and something else coming in the next 5 years or 10 years. Whenever there is crisis, I think humankind has always looked up and we have started running. But the people who run faster are the people who are more determined. So my simple suggestion and my request, I don't advise youngsters because I have kids at home too, and they don't like advice from the mother. So I'm not advising, but my sincere request is don't lose your determination. Be strong willed. And they are the transformation, they are the transformers of India tomorrow. For me, this generation, millennium, can take India to new heights. And we are ready to invest in such youngsters. HCL is investing in youngsters because we know they are our tomorrow, right? Stay confident. And I think and keep smiling, right, Mahesh? I'm sure you and I, we get up in the morning with a smile.
Absolutely. What do
Never
you?
stop smiling.
Is there an option about that? No, but I think I'll add to what Srimathi said. See, to all of you students, you are not responsible for what's happening currently. None of us is. We are facing the brunt of a pandemic that the world is facing. You're not alone in facing it. You're neither responsible for it, and neither would you be made to pay for it, because the world will get back to its feet very soon. It's just a matter of time. So enjoy your current space, enjoy your current times. If you can add a couple of skill sets, go to any of these free tech platforms where you can, learn something out of it. Don't waste your time in the interim if you can. And we will all come back to normalcy, and corporates, governments, people like us, all of us will get together to ensure that you don't lose anything in the long run. Just the 3-6 months of disruption that happened, nothing more about that.
It's only a delay. It's only
It's a delay. Exactly.
But
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Srimathi. It was a pleasure talking to you. For me, I enjoy my conversation when I know that I'm talking to people who mean well for the student. And I genuinely say this, that I really enjoyed my conversation today with you.
I did too, and amazing questions from the students. I can sense their aspirations sitting here. I want them to be well and keep safe during these times, and just look forward for a very, very bright future. So I wish them good luck. I wish 360 as well as you the brightest in the coming months and years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Srimathi. Thank you so much, Srimathi.
Thank you.